but it's also dealing with the natural world with a degree of respect, not to throw away food, not to throw away power, just care for the natural world of which we're an essential part.
And David, there's a connection between environmentalism, capitalism, and economic success, isn't there?
Between?
Environmentalism, capitalism, and economic success.
Yes.
I think that's quite an interesting sort of topic that the audience here would find very interesting.
That's why this particular event and this particular day, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most optimistic things I've seen for a very long time. This disaster, this creeping disaster, which has overtaken the world and is in the danger of really damaging it beyond repair, it started in Britain in the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century. And in developing nations, to the natural world at the stage, as it did in America, seemed to be, as it were, there to be conquered. A terrible word, to conquer the natural world. We have to get out there and show our mastery of it and destroy it in the process. And that had underlay the human reaction to the natural world for a very long time, and still is seen by some people that in fact humanity, and industrialized humanity in particular, is in opposition to the natural world. It is not. We are all one world, and that is the important thing that we have to recognize, and which organizations like this and events like this give you the optimism of feeling that fact, that fundamental, beautiful fact, is now being recognized. That is why it is so exciting to be at this great, important occasion where people attending it have more power, perhaps, than any other gathering in the world. And then feeling that those responsible for this gathering recognize this fundamental truth, and that people who come here will actually not only recognize it, but do something to make sure that that pact between the natural world and humanity is given its proper place and honor.
You used the word optimism there, David, quite a few times. Do you feel the narrative around climate change and environmentalism sometimes can be quite pessimistic, and that actually there is a real need for injection of optimism?
In a sense, I shrink from saying either an optimist or a pessimist. I mean, what good does it do to say you're pessimistic? That is not the point. The point is that we have this option ahead of us. We have to take the option of protecting the natural world. And we are discovering more ways in which we can do so. I am hearing all around, yes, we can do this, we can help that, and so on. The fact that we are now actually beginning to get power directly from the sun and the other renewables, and that we can see that there's no longer any need for us to pollute the world with the byproducts of our devices for generating energy, that we can do that, is becoming reality all over Europe, all over the world. And that's where the future lies. When one looks at the consequences of what we've done to the natural world in the processes of raising energy, we no longer need to. So there's a source of great optimism there. We have the power, we have the knowledge actually to live in harmony with nature.
And the world came together in the Paris Agreement to tackle climate change. But specifically in 2020 in Beijing, you and others were seeking a global deal for nature. Lots of people here probably haven't heard about that, David. Do you mind telling us why specifically that is so important?
Well, because Paris was a recognition by nations around the world that the natural world and humanity are interdependent. And Paris recognized what the dangers were, and they saw the problems about rising temperatures, about how we have influenced the climate and caused appalling devastation with rising temperatures, and how it was paramount importance that we stop doing it, which we can do, we know how to do it, and a determination of the nations around the world that we should do it, and try and limit it, well, we said between 2 degrees and 1.5 degrees, average around the world. If we can do that, we can prevent loss of coral reefs, we can prevent all sorts of damages, we can reduce the extremes of weather that's overtaking the planet already, and that is essential for the future well-being of the planet. That was recognized by nations around the world, not universally, I have to say, and there have been people who have wished to withdraw from that. But nonetheless, the majority of the nations around the world have accepted that and recognized that and are working towards that. And that's where we must put our faith.
And David, you're specifically narrating a new landmark series called Our Planet. And you've worked with WWF, Silverback Films and Netflix. Why did you decide to become involved in this particular project?
Because the issue has never been more important. And the issue that it should be recognized in not just one part of the world, not just in Europe, but worldwide. And the World Wildlife Fund gave us facilities to see the work that they've been doing, the researches they've been doing, the knowledge they've been doing about the way in which ecosystems are working and where there are dangers and where there are wonders, to enable us to produce this series of films. And by putting it on Netflix, it becomes possible overnight. You can reach 150 million people immediately. I mean, I started television in the 1950s, and television in Britain at that time was only seen by a few million people in southern England. Now, with Netflix, it's possible to put on a transmission, and it is seen worldwide by hundreds of millions of people, and will go on being seen, available, when people, word of mouth, did you see that show? It's still there. It's still able for them to see it. So this is a way which the World Wildlife Fund recognized and gave us all the insights and the information, the practical help that we needed to make these programs. So the Worldwide Fund for Nature is worldwide, and this picture of the world will be coming worldwide, simultaneously, on one particular date, and remain there.
And if I made you choose, David, which I'm going to do, would this be one of your most favorite projects or your most enjoyable in terms of actually what they've created, how they've filmed it, what's been shown, and bear in mind the time it's being shown in the world with the issues that are going on?
Yes, I mean, I started when it was just me and the cameraman and the clockwork camera. Yeah. You don't make natural history films like that anymore. The natural history films now of this sort of quality are made by literally hundreds of people. There may be 30, there may be 50 cameramen who'll be working on one particular program. I think something like 300 cameramen have worked on the series as a whole. Because now you've got the facilities to go up in the skies and the bottom of the seas. You can trek over the polar wastes. You can go over the deserts. You can be in the jungles of the world, and all those pictures you can bring back in order to give a unique picture which human beings haven't seen until this generation.
Yeah. And I think you've chosen a favourite clip from Our Planet, which we're going to show in a second. Can you just tell us a bit about what we're going to see in the footage?
The footage of the glacier. One of the most immediate dangers that are facing the planet today is, of course, rising temperatures. And where you may see that, of course, is actually more up in the north than it is in the south. But in the Arctic temperatures are rising very, very fast. And the team who made this series determined, of course, that they needed pictures of the melting ice that would symbolize this. And they went up to the north. Now, the glaciers up in the north, in the Arctic, are moving very fast indeed. And they went to one particular glacier, knowing that it was advancing into the sea rather fast. But you need glaciers are always on the move a bit, but you need dramatic event.
They're a bit like children, David, unpredictable.
Yeah, quite so. But they wanted to see the glacier that was calving, that is to say, coming off in lumps. And they decided that the way they would see that best would be from the air and in a helicopter. They eventually, on the very last day of their location, they were up in a helicopter and they spied the glacier suddenly beginning to calve. That there were sections of the glacier the size of a skyscraper, of a great multi-storied building, falling into the water, causing huge surges. Now, you're a helicopter pilot. Is that tricky?
It can be, David, yes.
I mean, huge uprushes of air when the vast blocks fall into the sea. And what that does, and if you're a pilot, I mean, you will know how you're going to get a steady shot to see that. The pilot who was working on that helicopter has my admiration, and you would know much more better than me, how skilled he was to get the sort of shots of the calving of the glacier, which is included in this series.
All helicopter pilots are very skillful, David. But I think everyone will be fascinated to see the clip now, so if we could play the clip, that'd be fantastic.
These massive ice falls from the top of the glacier are just the beginnings of a far greater event. A stretch of the front face of the glacier, over 1 kilometre long, is starting to break away. From 400 metres beneath the surface, the hidden ice is surging upwards. Breakaway of an iceberg the size of a skyscraper generates a colossal tidal wave. Within 20 minutes, 75 million tons of ice break free.
Incredible footage, I think everyone would agree. David, it just remains me to say a huge thank you on behalf of everyone here for you being here today to talk so openly, and a huge congratulations again for winning the Crystal Award. A round of applause, please, for Sir David Attenborough.